Recorded.
Hello, my name is Scott Schumacher, and I'm the principal at St. Peter's Lutheran School in Columbus, Indiana, and I have the privilege of introducing today's webinar, Aligning Teaching and Learning for All Students. Today's webinar will feature a best practice at St. Peter Lutheran School in Arlington Heights, Illinois. This webinar was prepared by our friends at St. Peter and is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. Just a few notes here before we begin our webinar. Live webinars are participatory events. We appreciate your questions and comments. Feel free to express yourself by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the Lutheran School portal. You don't need to be a portal member to view them. If you like what was shared, we invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty. This is a great opportunity for professional development. Another great resource for the Lutheran schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our school to connect informally. And we invite you to share your encouraging stories on the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Let's begin our webinar today then with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you as our Savior and King and give you thanks for the opportunity to serve you in our various schools. We thank you for all Lutheran schools, but especially give you thanks for St. Peter Arlington Heights. We thank you for blessing this school with a fantastic staff who work hard to draw children and their families into a close relationship with our Savior, Jesus Christ. We ask that you would continue to shower your blessings upon St. Peter, give the staff all that they need to teach the students entrusted to their care. And finally, Lord, we ask that you be with those who are presenting this webinar today, as well as those who are participating in the webinar. May this next hour be a blessing to all of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So we welcome Bruce Rudy, the principal there at St. Peter, and Mariana Knie and Kay Herman as they present the webinar, Aligning Teaching and Learning for All Students.
Thank you, Mike. We are happy to be here today to be able to share two best practices in our school that we hope will benefit schools and students where you're at as well. First presentation will be by our Differentiation Coordinator, Mariana Knie.
Thank you for joining us and allowing me to share some of our ideas and strategies that we use as we look at aligning teaching and learning to meet the needs of all students. As we begin any approach, we want to look at, and I'm sorry, the slide, there we go, okay. We want to look at developing a culture of understanding. And so as we look at developing this culture, we want to focus on, and we focus on some of these principles, that we are all unique children of God, that He has made us each differently with different interests, different abilities, that we all have strengths and we all have struggles. And I think it's important to note that students, even at a very young age, I have found, know their strengths, know their struggles. And it's allowing them to know that it's okay to have a struggle, that we all do, and that when we work with students, we say we're going to use tools and strategies and help you so that it's not as much of a struggle. And I found that that's actually very empowering for them. And we also focus on the fact that we have value because we are God's children. And that is where our true value comes from. It is not in the things that we do well, or if we struggle in an area, that does not lessen our value. And so when we were first beginning this approach approximately 4 years ago, we really did a lot to get this message out there, to create this culture of understanding. And through our teacher in-services, through parent orientations, which we do revisit that every year with our families, and along with the students. With the students, when we first were implementing this approach, we did a multiple intelligence survey with all students, had them map their brain and take a look at the various multiple intelligences, and they really enjoyed looking at and seeing where their interests lie and where they were similar to their friends, where there were differences, and we celebrated that together. Also, as we develop this culture of understanding, I like to share an adaptation that I created several years ago based on 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And due to time, we do not have all of those verses, but I have two excerpts here just to give you an idea of what that looks like. And so the lines that are, the words that are underlined are the words that were changed from the Bible passages. Now, the class is not made up of one student, but of many. If the musician should say, because I am not a reader, I do not belong to the class, he would not, for that reason, cease to be part of the class. And then later on it says, but in fact, God has arranged the students in our classrooms, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one student, where would the class be? As it is, there are many students, but one class. And I think that these verses and this passage really helps us see that God has created each of us in a very unique way. And he has given each of us those different abilities and purposes, and that we need to work together. We need to encourage each other and help each other. And I really like to focus on point 5 with the parents, that really our focus is on unity, not on a hierarchy mentality. And especially with our teaming, which I will get to in a little bit, we did not want a climbing the ladder type of mentality where you are trying to reach that top team or extended team, because it is not a ladder approach. There are different pathways, and really focusing on unity. And finally, as we look at creating that culture of understanding, we are very careful with the terminology that we use, because that creates the perceptions that are out there. So we want it to be a very positive environment. So we have found that the terms that are used on the left-hand side are helpful and useful in creating that positive environment. Small things like using strengths and struggles as opposed to high and low ability, or using typical as opposed to normal. Try never to say a normal second grader would do this, but a typical second grader may score in this category, and so forth. Using the word teaming as opposed to grouping is another minor change that we found makes a big difference in that perception, or moving over to a team as opposed to up and down, things of that nature. So I have found that being careful with the terms and the phrasing that we use in our literature that we send out, in the presentations that we give, has really helped to foster that understanding of uniqueness and differences in a positive culture. So as we have created that environment, we then look at differentiation, and I feel that these 3 areas are really key to any differentiated approach. Having flexibility, adaptability, and communication. And really key in my mind is having that flexibility in problem solving and in scheduling, in developing programs, in lessons, and assignments. All of those areas require flexibility in our thinking, flexibility in problem solving. And along with that goes adaptability and being open to change, trying new things, and seeing if it works. If it works, that's great. We celebrate that. If it doesn't work, we look at how can we tweak it, how can we modify and change. We might ask the question, what if we try this, what if we try that? So being flexible and adaptable, along with good communication. Our teachers communicate very frequently with each other. Classroom teachers, grade level teachers communicate weekly, often daily, in lessons, planning, in scheduling, as well as in sharing ideas of what worked well, and if they have an area of struggle, they ask other teachers what suggestions they may use to try. So really having that good communication among our staff, and then good communication with our parents, being able to share with them where their child is in their learning, what things they might do at home to support their child's learning, whether their child is on a support team and needs extra support at home, or whether their child may be on an extended team and ways that they can extend their learning in the home environment as well. As we look at differentiation, we also then want to look at what research tells us. And research tells us that we all learn best by moderate challenge. If something is too simple, or excuse me, if something is too difficult, we go into that self-preservation mode and we shut down. If something is too simple, we go into that relaxation mode and we really don't put forth that effort or are engaged. So we need to find an appropriate level of challenge for all of our students. And that means that the student has enough to get started, but they need extra help and support to get to the next level. And I feel that we have a pretty good understanding of that as teachers. We naturally go to the struggling learner and know that we need to take them from where they are and help them to be successful with the core curriculum. But I do want to make special note, too, that our students that advanced, that are able to work through material quickly, that we want to make sure that we are giving them an appropriate level of challenge as well, and not simply giving them a sheet to do as busy work while we are helping another student who is struggling, but that we also work with those students to give them an appropriate challenge where they need help to go beyond to the next level in their learning. Let's take a look first at what differentiation is not. It is not individualized instruction. It is not feasible for a teacher to create 18 different reading lesson plans each day. It is not a specific program with one right way of implementation. What we do here at St. Peter may not be an appropriate fit for you in your school situation, and that is okay. It is not, differentiation is also not tracking or labeling a student and pigeonholing them in one particular pathway, but providing a variety. Differentiation instruction, therefore, is a way of approaching teaching and learning by adjusting instruction to fit the skills, experience levels, and learning styles of students in the classroom. And so I feel that in red there, it says it all. It is adjusting the instruction, and that is really on a daily basis as well. Before I get into the specifics with our Pathways program here at St. Peter, I just want to highlight the fact that this has been an ongoing process that we have been going through for several years. And so giving yourself time and allowing yourself that time to make adjustments and try various things that may work for you is key. And we have, I won't go through the list, but we have had several various approaches and learning options throughout the years. And so allowing that time is a good thing. So as we look at Pathways to Learning, our differentiation approach, I want to take a look at three visuals here. As we were putting this approach together, I was thinking of a path that you might find in a national forest, let's say, going on a hiking trail or a biking trail. There are often trails based on skill and experience level. And really that same concept I find is true within our learning environment, that we want our students to go from point A to point B and learn that core curriculum. But how they get from point A to point B may be different based on their skill and experience levels. So many of our students coming into our classrooms are ready for that on-level path. It is fairly level, but there are new twists and turns. There may be a few little hills along the way and things, but they are ready to maneuver those twists and turns based on the skill and experience that they are bringing in. We may have other students, however, that come in and they need that straight pathway that is smooth, does not have all of the twists and turns. They are still getting from point A to point B in that core curriculum, but that is a more straight path with that core information. We may have other students who come in that are already very experienced and very skilled at maneuvering through those twists and turns, and so they need to go off-road a bit, and that's what you see in that bottom picture there with on-level extended. And so those students, they need more bumps, more twists, more turns. They may even go off the path at a time and then come back on the path as they are going again from point A to point B with the curriculum. And so that is really the philosophy behind our Pathways approach. Again, it's not a ladder, but three different pathways of getting through the core curriculum. So here at St. Peter, the way that that looks is we have 1st through 5th grade math and reading teams. We have an on-level team, an on-level support, and an on-level extended. And I want to note that we only use these phrases with the adults in clarification. We do not use those with the students. With the students, we will simply say, you're going to Miss Kinney's math team, and so on. All of our teams are designed to provide appropriate challenge, to provide critical and creative thinking. We also make sure that our teaming is flexible, and we do move students from team to team as we feel it meets their needs. Our teams are comprised of students from all of one grade level, which we then divide into the three various teams, and the teachers, the two classroom teachers, and myself or one of our part-time support staff will lead the third team. So as we look at how we initially make the assessments and placements for our students, we use a variety of tools to do that. First, we use our Ames Web math and reading benchmarking. Ames Web is an online-based, curriculum-based measurement, and it also is a database where you can track student progress over time. We use the benchmark assessments along with teacher input from the current year's teacher as well as the previous year's teacher. We use classroom performance and achievement test results. For our first graders, we do not have, incoming first graders, we do not have achievement test results, so we will use a variety of other curriculum-based measurements from our math and reading series. And I would encourage you, if you would like to look into Ames Web, I do have that link later on in the presentation. If that is not a resource that your school would be able to do at this time, or a similar sort of database and curriculum measurement, you could create your own benchmarks using material from math and reading curriculums that you have for your student body. When we look at all of this data, we do not simply look at the academic performance, but we really try to take into account the full child. We look at emotional and behavioral needs and functioning as well within the classroom. So we do not have specific cut scores, but we look at the full child. And so, for example, we have had students where we have had a little boy who, by his test scores, would appear to be need to be on the extended team, and that is where he was placed. However, while he was on that team, he started to show signs of stress and overwhelm, and it really was becoming not a good fit based on some of the emotional and behavioral needs that he had. And so we did move him over to the on-level team. Parents were not sure about this move at first, but within a couple of weeks they were very supportive and saw how it made such a positive difference for him, and he is thriving in that environment. We've also had students on the flip side of that, whereby their scores may appear to be a prospect for an on-level team. However, due to their motivation and their high work ethic, they were placed on an extended team because they needed that amount of challenge. And so that also has been a very positive move for them. So it's really looking at a variety of data as we look at what is best for each child. The third point there, just to note as well, that really the makeup of a classroom from year to year may be different. For example, this year our third grade does not really have a support, several students on a support need for reading. So we actually have 2 on-level reading teams and 1 on-level extended team for third grade this year due to the class makeup. And so again, having that flexibility and being willing to adapt to those changes from year to year, I think, are key. I also like the statement by Carol Tomlinson when we look at assessment, that assessment is today's means for understanding how to modify tomorrow's instruction. We definitely assess students at our benchmarking periods and at the beginning of the semester as we are looking to place students, but it really is an ongoing daily basis that we need to assess where our students are in their learning from the various means that you see listed so that we can best tailor our instruction to meet those needs. I often say that by Tuesday or Wednesday, my lesson plans are generally out the window and I have to redo and have arrows because we are constantly changing and modifying as we go. So as we look at how do we modify in 3 main areas: content, process, and product. The content is what the student is learning, the process is how they are learning it, and the product is the demonstration of knowledge. So being able to differentiate at least in one of these areas or more would be how we would differentiate curriculum to meet the needs. So for some examples of how that looks here at St. Peter, if we look at our reading content, what is being learned? First and foremost, all of our students use our Treasures Reading Curriculum textbook series. We use the same stories, the same materials at varying levels. To support that, however, at first grade, those students on the support team in first grade need extra phonemic awareness, extra phonics, extra decoding. So teachers will pull in a variety of materials, including Michael Haggerty and Jellyphonics, which are research-based programs to help build those phonemic awareness and phonics skills. They will pull in extra decodable readers and Dolch words and so forth to build that knowledge. At 2nd through 4th grade levels, if we have struggling readers who need extra support for fluency, we may pull in materials from Read Naturally, which is a research-based program for fluency building, or Making Connections, another research-based program for building comprehension skills. Often with my 4th grade, I have a 4th grade support team for reading. Often with that, I will do a treasures reading story that perhaps is focused on main idea in detail, and then I will pull in a unit from the Making Connections series to further build on the main idea and detail skills. We also sometimes use CAIU, which is an educational group which has created questions for each of the Ames Web oral reading probes. If you use Ames Web, it is an excellent resource to pull questions for each of those probes in order to either assess student comprehension or work on building student comprehension. If you do not currently use Ames Web, it is still a great site to check out in order to see how they have structured their questions, and if you are looking to possibly create some of your own benchmarking, oral reading, and comprehension questions, that would also serve as a good guide for that. In 5th grade, our reading teams are a little different than 1st through 4th. The 5th grade students work with their classroom homeroom teacher for the Treasures Reading Curriculum story, and then we break into teams 3 days a week to do a book study at their instructional reading level. For the extended teams, the way differentiation may work for reading is by building in extra book studies that piggyback onto the various topics and themes from our Reading Treasures curriculum. For example, my 3rd grade extended team that I have, we had a story in the Treasures book on wolves, and so then we took about 2 to 3 weeks to do a book study on a version of White Fang, which was at a 5.5 reading level, so it was able to extend their knowledge, and we did a variety of characterization and summarizing and various skills at an extended level for them. If we take a look at our math curriculum, the way that we differentiate content in this area is, first and foremost, we all use the Envision Math series. We all follow the same topics and cover the same core content. However, for our support team, they will focus on the core content of our curriculum, so they will not do every lesson within the textbook. Actually, most of us do not do every lesson within the textbook because we want to teach to our curriculum, not to the textbook. However, they really focus on that core content, pull in a lot of extra material to help build those skills. They will also use Touch Math, which provides a visual on the numbers to help build that math fluency. For the extended teams, we really focus on problem solving and adding various materials from math rules, math analogies, logic problems, and so forth. We will also pull in some extension units based on the topic that we may be studying in math at that time. Before we look at differentiating the process, I want to look at this visual, which I think really clearly depicts why differentiation is so important. Typically, we take about 15 to 18 repetitions to start committing something to memory. But we may have students in our class, if we look to the right, who only need 5 to 7 repetitions before they have learned that material. If we look to the left of the curve, we may have some students who require up to 30 repetitions or more to acquire that skill. So doing one thing one way is not going to fit all students. And so it is really key to differentiate the pacing and be flexible in that pacing. And that would be a part of process, how we are teaching our students. So on the support teams, they are going to take extra time to revisit the content, to add additional skills practice and to give more direct instruction of those skills, chunking information when necessary, and using that deliberate pacing so that the students have that extra time that they need to be successful with that core curriculum. We also typically have a reduced student-teacher ratio, which provides for that more direct instruction, and those teachers will also do progress monitoring for those students so that we can see if these interventions are working or if they need to be changed in some way. So really giving them that extra practice and time we have found to be very successful. For students on the extended team, we want to condense the curriculum wherever that we can. So we have a quicker pacing as we go through that core content. We often use pre-assessment with the students, and based on those assessments, we are often able to compact the curriculum. For example, I just pre-assessed a chapter with my second graders. They all scored 90% or higher, so we are not going to do most of those lessons within that unit because they already have a very strong understanding of that material. I will pull some of the enrichment activities that I think are beneficial to do with them, but then we will move on. And so that allows us that extra time for extension. And then as we look at differentiating the product or the demonstration of knowledge for students, we expect all students to have that core knowledge, so we ask them to take the same tests in our reading series for the selection tests and unit tests. We have the same tests in our math chapters and units. The formatting may look a little different, but the core content is still the same. How it may look different on a day-to-day basis, however, is for our support team, they may often use the reteaching pages or approaching level pages that come with our math and reading series. Those often have less writing work to do, again, chunking of information or assignments so that it is manageable for those students. And on the extended team, we may often use the extended or enrichment or beyond level worksheets with our math and reading series. And we often expect more writing, more detail in their responses. How it may look, let's say for a reading example, we all read the same reading story. They are all expected to learn the same 8 vocabulary words. However, on the support team, they may do the sheet that has the words and definitions, and they need to match the word to the definition. The on-level team may have a sheet that has a paragraph with those 8 words missing, and they need to find where those 8 words go in that story. And the extended team may have those 8 words listed at the top of a blank page where it says, create a story using those 8 words. So they are all using the same 8 vocabulary words. They all are showing their knowledge of those definitions of those words, but in different ways. A few other differentiation strategy ideas that I think can work in all school environments. I would suggest first identifying key personnel that can lead the way, people who are passionate about differentiation and really want to take the lead in being able to research and find some ideas that can work and helping to share that with others. And once those people are identified, getting together, having brainstorming sessions to think flexibly and creatively about the various tasks that will be before you, scheduling, finding what programming options may be best in your school environment, looking at how can we creatively look at time for collaboration and time for training, being able to look at the resources that we have available with people and materials and how those can best be used to meet the needs for students and staff. Also looking at the assessment options and how all of that is going to affect the programming and affect day-to-day differentiating within our classroom. And then I would suggest setting manageable goals, understanding that it does take time, starting with something manageable, finding success, and then building upon that, as opposed to trying to look at something that is much larger than what we can take in one time. And finally, at the bottom there are a few other differentiation strategies and ideas that can be used within a classroom. I would say that the idea of rotating is key as well. When I taught a first and second grade combined class several years ago, I had a combined first and second grade class. That's where I really started that idea of rotating teams during reading time to be able to meet the wide range of skills and experiences that I had within that classroom. And so the idea of taking 3 or 4 teams and rotating them around during a class session and building upon that is very helpful. Or starting in one subject area, one lesson, one subject area, and differentiating the product as I described earlier, and building from those types of experiences. Some benefits that we have seen here at St. Peter with our differentiation approach is, first and foremost, with our students, that we have daily and direct daily and direct exposure to the content for our support students, that they are able to get those interventions and that added support and skills practice. With our extended teams, we are able to give consistent challenge to those students, and not just haphazardly, but daily, consistently in math and reading. We have extended math and reading time. The time for our teachers is typically the same as it was prior. However, we are protecting that time from assemblies and various interruptions, and so that allows more time to be teaching and learning within those subject areas. Sometimes that can provide a challenge when we're scheduling other things, but it has been very beneficial in the math and reading growth. We have seen increased math and reading scores, especially for the students that have been struggling. We also see increased confidence among those students and increased student engagement from all of our learners. Our teachers have been very positive with switching to this approach. There is a lot more collaboration, teamwork, problem solving. There is a lot more flexibility and open to new ideas and working with each other. Teachers are also very positive about the fact that they can target their instruction to meet student needs, and that has been very helpful and very positive for us. And therefore then our parents have also expressed that they are very positive with this approach, that they appreciate the varying skill levels and meeting those students where they are. Finally, I have 2 slides to show you some resources with links for resources that we have found very helpful here. The first here are websites that our teachers have found to be very helpful in terms of printing resources for both students that are struggling as well as on level or extended, as well as various websites for interactive activities and games that they have found to be beneficial. And on this final slide, here is a link to several of the resources, research-based curriculums and resources that I have referenced that we have found to be helpful and useful, and hopefully some of these will be helpful to you as well. I thank you for taking the time to listen to me and our strategies that we use here at St. Peter. If you would like any other information and like me to go into anything further, I'd be happy to answer any of those questions. You can also reach me at mkinney@fulllifeinchrist.org.
Mariana, thank you for that. I hope that you've taken from this presentation an idea or a practice that you might be able to integrate within your school, or if you're using some of these things already, it affirms what you're doing and in your school as well as what we're doing in ours. One of the key things about that differentiation is providing something that meets the needs of students, and one of the ways that we're differentiating in the area of science is with what we call Project Lead the Way. And Kay Herman is going to be sharing that presentation and that side of our best practice with you now.
Thank you. A few years ago, I was a mother with a child who was in high school. He was very interested in one of his classes called Project Lead the Way. He and his friends enjoyed the learning, the exploring, and problem solving through various projects from his class. Then I found out that Project Lead the Way was conducting a pilot program for kindergarten through 5th grade that year. Our school principal, Bruce, Rudy, and I decided to implement this pilot program in our school. Last year, we taught Project Lead the Way in kindergarten and 1st grade with great success and parent approval. This year, we are implementing Project Lead the Way in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Next year, we will implement Project Lead the Way in kindergarten through 5th grade. Project Lead the Way is a STEM program. STEM means that the curriculum contains science, technology, engineering, and math. In this webinar, Project Lead the Way will have the letters capital PLTW. Project Lead the Way is the nation's leading provider of science, technology, engineering, and math STEM programs. Project Lead the Way's curriculum is activity, project, and problem-based. It aligns with Common Core state standards for math and English language arts, Next Generation Science Standards, and Computer Science Teacher Association K-12 Computer Science Standards. In this slide, you can see in 2014-2015, over 74 new schools in Illinois adopted the Project Lead the Way world-class curriculum. Over 281 schools in Illinois now include Project Lead the Way in their curriculum. In 2014, over 6,000 teachers were trained by Project Lead the Way's master teachers at over 50 colleges, universities, and other institutions. Project Lead the Way's curriculum is in over 6,500 schools nationwide. Project Lead the Way offers curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade. If you notice, there is segments here that is broken up. You have the Launch program, which is for kindergarten through 5th grade, the Gateway program, which is middle school, 6th through 8th grade, and then high school offers 3 components. They offer a biomedical science, computer science, and engineering part of Project Lead the Way. Gateway and Launch, they have now made some modules that will fit both of those programs as well. The Launch program is designed for kindergarten through 5th grade. I am mostly going to be speaking about the kindergarten module, the Project Lead the Way Launch program. It has topic-based modules that engage students in design problems as the students collaborate with one another, analyze, problem solve with some computational thinking. The Launch program, like I said earlier, is designed for kindergarten to 5th grade. There are 4 modules that are available per grade, and each module takes approximately 10 hours to complete. Teachers and schools have the flexibility to introduce the modules that they want. The first module of each grade focuses on the design process. This is the 5-step method that the students follow. Ask, what is the problem? Second step, explore, think of ways to solve the problem. Third step, model, make an item. Fourth step, evaluate, compare designs with a friend using the item. And the 5th step, explain, tell others about your design. In this slide is a listing of the original 12 modules that were implemented in schools in the 2014-2015 school year for Launch. Under the section column, it's labeled K.1, K.2, 1.1, 1.2. What that signifies is the K means kindergarten, And then the numbers beyond that, point 1, point 2. Point 1 is the first module that they designed, and point 2 is the second module that they designed. These are engineering modules. Now, the first module may be taught independently of the second module. However, the second module only is piggybacked to the first module. You need to implement the first module to teach the second module. PLTW created 12 more modules to implement in the classroom for 2015-2016. Once again, the first number or letter refers to the grade level. The number 3 refers to a biomedical module, and the number 4 refers to a computer science module. Listed here are some launch program requirements. It's an overview. If a school was to start out with Project Lead the Way, they would need at least one lead teacher per building. Then other teachers would need to be certified for the modules that they will teach. There is no minimum requirement, and the lead teacher would be the one who would train the classroom teachers. It is highly recommended that there are no more than 4 students per iPad. Here at St. Peter, we find a ratio of 1 student to 1 iPad works well in kindergarten, and a ratio of 2 students to 1 iPad works well in first grade. The software are free apps that you load on an iPad. In this slide, there is a link included to the program requirements from Project Lead the Way. PLTW launch can be delivered in a non-traditional environment like an after-school program or summer program. We are looking into a PLTW week-long summer camp for kindergarten through 2nd grade. We'll either look into implementing it this year or next year. Listed here is a kindergarten example of the first module, Structure and Function. This is the activity portion of it. The kindergartners are introduced to the words structure and function by playing an I Spy kind of game. Once the students have been exposed to several examples, the teacher reads the story, Jack and the Beanstalk. The students will create the tallest beanstalk using pipe cleaners. While they are creating their beanstalk, they are comparing the structure, strengths, weaknesses, and the height of the beanstalk with each other. The project portion of the module, here the students will read a story, The 3 Little Pigs. They study the 3 pigs' houses and how they were built. They design a house that can withstand wind. Here, the students follow the 5-step engineering design process that was explained earlier. Students will choose from a variety of materials, design, and make their model. Project Lead the Way offers materials given, but you can also add or delete any materials you want to build this house. Next, the students test and evaluate their projects by using a wind machine. The last part of the module is a problem to solve. In this case, the kindergartners will need to design a tool to paint. They create and design their ideas through drawing. Below the first picture shows students creating their ideas in what is called their launch log, and then they also create their idea on the iPad using Sketchbook. Next, using a variety of materials, they create their tool. The second picture shows the student deciding on what materials to use. Last, they explain, test, and evaluate their tool. The third picture shows 2 students testing out their design. What the students are really doing is applying critical thinking skills, analyzing and evaluating their designs in kindergarten. Our goal is to engage students' minds while developing a passion for STEM subjects through hands-on learning and real-world problem solving. In the first grade module, the problem is to create a device that uses sound over distance. Students will investigate light and sound. The students will create and design a device using a variety of everyday materials like plastic water bottles, thermoses, small tins, rocks, whatever can be found, very easily found. Students will use the design process to sketch, build, test, and reflect on their device. In a second grade module, the problem is to design a product to keep a popsicle cold. Students will explore, classify, and observe properties of matter. They will analyze the data from materials tested. With this newly acquired knowledge and skills, they will determine the best material to use to solve the problem and create their product. The students will analyze how well their product did and what improvements could be made. If you would like more descriptions on the rest of the modules, you will find that information on the PLTW's website. Here is a model for Project Lead the Way's launch training. PLTW has trainers who will train a PLTW master teacher. These master teachers are sent to the various colleges and universities to train a lead teacher. A lead teacher is a teacher who represents a school who would implement PLTW. A lead teacher would go through 2.5 days of training. They would become certified to go back to their school and train other teachers if necessary. These teachers that are trained from the lead teacher is called PLTW teachers. I attended my training at University of Iowa. I, in turn, provided the training so teachers at our school can be certified in their grade level modules. PLTW has a three-phase approach for PLTW teachers. First is what is called the readiness training. Teachers will complete an on-site 8-hour training session which builds awareness of STEM education, learning the role of the teacher and the student as it relates to instruction. It more talks about facilitating as opposed to giving rote learning to the student, and focusing on the core knowledge and skill. Second is the core training. These teachers will complete online training for the specific module through PLTW's Learning Management System, referred to as the LMS system. All the modules would be available, but the teacher only chooses the modules they plan to teach. The teachers will focus on the pedagogy and activity, project, and problem-based learning. Third is the ongoing online training which is offered with other e-learning resources. A teacher can also participate in state, regional, and national conferences. Here are various ways that you can set PLTW up in your school. One person, the lead teacher, would run the PLT program for the whole school, kindergarten through 5th grade. Or each classroom teacher teaches PLTW in their classroom. Or one teacher of each grade level teaches PLTW for all grade level classes. At our school, we use the third way to implement Project Lead the Way. How do we fit a module in our classroom? Well, our kindergarten and first grade students receive about 10 hours of instruction. Almost every day, the kindergartners have PLTW for 30 to 50 minutes. First graders receive 45 minutes a day during their science lesson. As Mariana had explained, they have a set schedule during the day, so there would also be a set schedule for their science part. At the above rates, the module is completed in a month. The module is chosen to fit in with already existed curriculum. An example of this is in first grade, they study light and sound in our science curriculum. We just input Project Lead the Way for that unit. Parent participation. Parents are a key component for PLTW in our school. When students are making their models and or testing their models, we have extra parents on hand. In kindergarten, these parents might use the hot glue gun. So a child may come up and say, you know, can you please glue a styrofoam ball to a empty cardboard tube to create a paintbrush? Or I might have parents in kindergarten, when a student finishes a model, a parent would videotape the kindergartner explaining about that project. We also would give parents a list of questions to ask the students. Another way is parents would come in and talk about their job or a specific item used in their job. Last year, a parent brought in a decibel meter for the students to record their noisemakers in first grade. Assessments. There are two forms of assessments used. There is formative assessment, where students will demonstrate their knowledge throughout the module by completing activities, their projects, and the problems, and they'll be using a variety of assessment tools. The teachers would be using a variety of assessment tools. The second is summative assessment. The summative assessment is available with each of the Project Lead the Way launch modules. It is called the Check for Understanding. The Check for Understanding would target specific knowledge and skills that were gained throughout the module. The Check for Understanding can be completed with pencil and paper, or it can be even completed on the iPad and sent to the teacher via email. Project Lead the Way's Gateway program, as I said earlier, is for grades 6 through 8. This program is challenging. It engages middle students' curiosity through creative problem solving. Their programs include engineering, computer science, and biomedical science. Our goal is to implement PLTW's Gateway program in 2017-2018. There are opportunities to engage the students outside the classroom. Here are a few contests listed in which students can participate. There's Spark Lab Invented Challenge. This is for students K through 12 who follow a 7-step invention process. There's Teams. It's a one-day competition for middle school students to come together and provide students with hands-on STEM enrichment. Teams would compete for local, state, and national recognition. Also, students can compete for scholarships. Here are a few listed. Robotics Education and Competition Foundation. It offers over $1.5 million in scholarship opportunities to qualified students. Our alumni have completed in the robotics competition and have made it to the national level. Texas Instruments offers 2 $5,000 scholarships exclusively for PLTW students. What were the challenges we faced with Project Lead the Way? We had expense, we had teacher mindset, we had time constraints, finding time within the school day for the program, fitting the program into an already full curriculum, teacher planning time, scheduling the availability of one set of classroom iPads for 4 grades. How did we overcome the challenges? Well, under expense, you can look at private donors and local businesses. A parent of our school gave $4,000 with a company match of another $4,000. There's fundraising, there's corporate donors and grants. You can look into the Project Lead the Way School grant program. The web address is listed here on the slide. We also received $250 from Thrivent Financial to help educate the students in the area of STEM. Private company grants are available, like Toshiba and Motorola Solutions. We received a $1,000 grant from Toshiba to use this calendar year. How did we overcome the challenges with teacher mindset? We gave a group presentation to the teachers. It was designed to create interest, to ask questions, and to overcome any apprehension about PLTW. We provided teacher training on the philosophy and pedagogy during staff professional development. The lead teacher is available as needed for classroom teachers. PLTW strengthened the science curriculum with its already developed teacher resources and day-by-day plans. How did we overcome the challenges with time constraints? We integrated Project Lead the Way's topics into our current science curriculum using their hands-on student learning approach, as I had said earlier about light and sound with first grade. We used professional development time for teacher training. We created a Google Docs for reservations of iPads. This Google Docs listed the dates and times available in 1-hour blocks for the teachers to fill in. All teachers have this up-to-date document available to them. What did we gain as a school using PLTW? Parent involvement and support, stimulating younger minds in the STEM area. I still have students come up to me and say, I remember making a house in your class. Encouraging collaboration between students as they work on a project together. We're moving away from worksheets to hands-on projects. Parents are thrilled to see their child excited about learning. Many come up to me and say, my child was telling me how he made this design and how it works. This has been great. It helped expand teamwork among teachers, and it enhanced our status within the community as a school that pursues academic leadership. If you would like more information on PLTW, you can go to their website at www.pltw.org, or you can Google your specific state PLTW newsletter. On this slide is the link for the Illinois PLTW newsletter. A representative's name and contact would be listed. PLTW offers a conference in March called PLTW Summit. It is located in Indianapolis. Last year, I attended the summit with questions I prepared ahead of time. During the conference, I would meet various teachers and administrators and ask my questions. After the conference, I came back to school loaded with a variety of ideas to try this year. This slide has a short video embedded in it on the last year's summit. So if you're watching this at a later time, you can pull up last year's summit. If you have any questions, our school information is listed, as well as my name and contact information. I want to thank Project Lead the Way for their permission to use some of this information presented in the webinar, and thank you for this opportunity to speak on PLTW.
We want to thank you for tuning in today for our webinar. We hope that it's been beneficial to you and that you've gained some things from that are usable in your school. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Mike and Todd.
Well, thanks so much, Bruce and Mariana and Kay. I really appreciate your presentation. It was awesome, awesome, awesome. I really love the differentiation topic, and I also really like the hands-on approach to Project Lead the Way. So great job. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much.
And, hey, just a really quick question here for you. In order to do both of these projects there in your school, it has to require a lot of collaboration. So when do you build in time for teachers to collaborate? Do you use professional learning communities or just other times to collaborate?
That's been a challenge as we've moved forward with these different programs. One of the things that we've worked to do is provide opportunity for the teachers to meet during the school day, and that could be at a lunchtime where they have lunch together and there is someone else that monitors the students at lunch and they're able to meet at that time. Another opportunity that I use is during all school assemblies, and there could be a group of teachers that need to meet, collaborate. I take them out of that assembly because there'll be other teachers there that are able to cover the supervision of the students at that time. That also has proved beneficial. I've also changed our faculty meeting format so that we have weekly meetings, but that changes format in terms of an all-faculty meeting as opposed to breakout meetings, as opposed to professional development meetings. And so all of that has proved to be beneficial as well. And then we also have some half days scheduled within the school year, and those half days, the bottom half of that half day can also be used for professional development. But that is a challenge that is an ongoing piece for us to allow teachers the opportunity to meet and team, collaborate, discuss, evaluate, analyze together to better benefit the whole program.
Great. Yeah. Well, it looks like you have at least a plan on how to facilitate greater collaboration. I know that's a challenge that a lot of schools have. So, but it's really important for sure. And so, looks like you're doing a pretty good job with that. Are there any other questions that anybody who's participating in the webinar has for St. Peter? I'll give you just a quick minute here to type any questions in the chat box there. Well, it doesn't look like there are any questions coming out there. Just know that if you have any other specific questions about differentiation or Project Lead the Way, to certainly please contact our friends from St. Peter. I know that they'd be happy to give you more information. And also don't forget that this webinar will be archived on the Lutheran School portal as well. So once again, we thank Bruce, Mariana, and Kay from St. Peter Arlington Heights for their presentation. And we also thank our friends from Concordia, Wisconsin for their help in producing this webinar. Be looking for more information on the upcoming webinars from St. Peter Arlington Heights in the next 2 weeks as well. God blessings to all of you as you continue to serve our Savior as professional educators in Lutheran schools. God bless. All right, Bruce, you guys did a great job.